Just now, I want to present my poster presentation. That is A4 size, but it is okay for me to use a this type of uh, views. So then, my title is Recycling Nickel Resources from Electroless Nickel Plating. You know, nickel plating with the use of the intense magnetic field, which was generated by the high temperature superconducting bulk magnets. So then we are trying to make uh, apply the superconducting magnet, we call this the super magnet that is made by the bulk material, which was activated by field cooling mode or the pulse field magnetization. So then all of our teams are here, me and my students and the colleagues in Niigata University and the SIT colleagues. So then I must show you the summaries in five. The magnetic separation the technique using the bulk magnet was developed to recycle the nickel resource from the waste liquid or waste fluid of the electroless nickel plating processes. So then an open gradient magnetic separation was separated to collect the nickel sulfate uh, very close, big, large crystals from the mixed fluid with use of the gadolinium-123 bulk magnet, which was activated by the 4 Tesla field cooling method. So then the ratio of the nickel sulfate content kept 80%. So nickel sulfate particles were preferentially collected from the mixed slurry of the what we call the regenerated fluid. So this is the context. So in a nickel plant, nickel plating plant, all the parts were dipped in a nickel uh, plating vessel, but sometimes the nickel is the waste is treated in a reaction bath and in a nickel sulfate and heat treating the nickel phosphide was generated. And after the filtration, the nickel phosphide powders, like a cheesecake, is uh, processed by the concentrated the sulfuric acid. So then in this vessel, the regenerated fluid is generated. So then we call this regenerated fluid. So that containing the nickel sulfate and the nickel phosphide, very fine powders and coarse powders. So then that would be nickel compounds. So we thought they would be separated by the magnetic separation separation technique. So then the nickel sulfate is a little bit good for the magnetic properties. So it must be recycled to the reaction bath or when it is purified, then we can recycle these powders to the plating vessel again. So then and these are the nickel plate, the ion concentration of the nickel plating vessel, and then these are the chemical reaction to make nickel sulfate from the nickel phosphide from the reaction bath. So then this is experimental. So nickel sulfate and the nickel phosphate is very different, but they contains the nickel ions. So then the regenerated waste is here. That was usually in the water, in the liquid. So then that is dried in this way. So then this is nickel sulfate is a little bit high, strong magnetic properties than the nickel phosphate ions. So this is we have these use a differences between these magnetic property. So we would separate these two crystals or the materials or slurry from the regenerated processed slurries fluid. So we use the high temperature superconducting bulk magnet, which was activated by the field cooling method. So then in these areas we can see, we can see, but in these areas we can adapt the bulk magnet here. So this is generating the 4 Tesla magnetic field. It is very, very strong. So then they the the professionals or the expertise, the uh, plating engineers, and never knows these materials could be attracted by the strong magnetic field using bulk magnet. So this is the magnetic separation equipment. This is just a vessel. So then the 6 liter and 6 liter vessel. So then the regenerated fluid is poured inside of the vessels, and then the waters comes like this by the sinking float like this. So then the overflowing the regenerated fluid on the water channel, which is closely adapted, closely selected, adapted from the bulk magnet, so generating for Tesla. So then the green means the attracted nickel sulfate, very large and coarse crystals. So then this is the view graph. So then we see the bulk magnet system here just beneath the water channel. So then the collected study was shown. So the flowing is like this. We can see the waves like this. From here to go through the overflowing to the another vessel. So then the magnetic field can attract the very, very weak paramagnetic nickel sulfate coarse crystals. So then when we finished the course, so then after deriving and removing the coarse slurry or the powders, so we can see a drop. How can I say? I couldn't see anything. So the water liquid is paramagnetic, but this is a little bit magnetic in comparison to another waters. So then that is attracted by the magnetic field generating for Tesla. So then we call this just a drop. So then, so an apparent green slurry was accumulated on the water channel and showing the to correct that the nickel pound compounds from the regenerated fluid is successful. So even the draining, we can see the drop. So then this is the view graph of the collected crystals. So then the flow rate is low. The 80 grams of the slurries were collected in these areas. So then because of the magnetic force is proportional to the B cross rotation B, so promotion of the magnetic field 3 or 4 is very effective. So then the highest amount of 80 grams for in this data. So that means a corresponding to the 36 kilograms per day. So it is all sufficient or not, we don't see, but we can see anything about, but the very paramagnetic powders were collected by the 4 Tesla bulk magnet. So we must conclude that we have succeeded in separating the nickel sulfate from the regeneration of the regenerated water waste. So then effective nickel sulfate extraction promises the feasible nickel recycling as a raw materials. So then collected crystal reaches 80 grams. So that correspond to the 36 kilograms a day. So thank you so much for your attention.